Here are 14 creatures you never knew existed. These things look straight out of a mutant alien sci-fi zoo exhibition.
Number 14.
Ugh, this reminds me of my high school ex, wearing lipstick. On a good day, here we have the red-lipped batfish, found at depths of 100 feet or more around the Galapagos Islands. Although they're fish, they're terrible swimmers and instead use their fins to walk along the ocean floor. It's believed that their bright red lips are likely used to enhance species recognition during spawning. They may look weird, but they're harmless to humans. Either way, it reminds me of an underwater version of a hooker.
Number 13.
Damn, looks like an extraterrestrial crocodile. It's actually called a gharial, but is also known as a living needle-nosed pliers. They're native to India and have 110 teeth. Why do you need so many teeth? There's only 235 of them remaining, and they're the quickest of all crocodiles in the world. If you were wondering about that big bump at the end of its snout, it's apparently utilized as a visual sex indicator. Makes sense since it reminds me of a big ball sack.
Number 12.
It doesn't take a dirty mind to guess what this reminds me of. Nicknamed the penis snake, it's neither a penis nor a snake, although it looks like both. It is, in fact, a rare and limbless amphibian named a Tridocoana isult. The penis snake reaches about 30 inches long, which is 30 times longer than my own personal penis. Snake.
Number 11.
Here, we have the saiga antelope. It's a really unique species of antelope born with a distinct hanging nose that helps it filter out dust during the summertime, and in the winter, it warms up the air before it's taken into the lungs. Can you imagine the boogers in that thing? Gross! During mating season, the stags fight for possession of the female antelope. The winner gets not one, but 5 to 50 females. No freaking way! Sounds like the animal kingdom's version of a pimp. In the springtime, these pregnant females come together to give birth as a massive herd. 2/3 of these newborns turn out being twins, while the other third is a single foal. Unfortunately, this awesome antelope is highly endangered. Over 120,000 of them were found dead in May 2015, with only an estimated 250,000 remaining. Let's hope it doesn't go extinct anytime soon, because this is one cool looking creature.
Number 10.
Ghostfish killer over here has antifreeze in its blood, allowing it to thrive in the ice-cold Antarctic waters. How gangster is that? Ice Cube's got nothing on this guy. Known as the Antarctic ice fish, it's see-through and is the only invertebrate lacking hemoglobin and red blood cells, which it developed through years of evolution in order to survive in extreme conditions. There's so many interesting things going on with this fish, but all I can think of is what it would taste like.
Number 9.
You're looking at the most highly venomous caterpillar in North America, the southern flannel moth. It's also known as a pus caterpillar or the Trump caterpillar because it resembles Donald Trump's ugly hair so much. Found along the east coast of the US, it's carrying some painful weapons. What looks like a cute, hairy, furry coat, in fact, isn't. Every hair is actually a sharp, poisonous little spine. Touching one of these spines is freaking painful. It sends a deep, aching pain all the way down to the bone, and being stung on the finger can actually make your entire arm swell up. Nevertheless, I'd still rather be put in a room full of these guys than a room with Donald Trump.
Number 8.
Here, we have the panda ant. Despite its name, these guys actually belong to a family of over 3,000 wasp species. The panda ant is a black and white haired specimen of this wasp species. They've got quite the reputation for delivering extremely painful stings and have therefore earned the nickname cow killer or cow ant, since they can knock out cows and other animals way larger than them. If it can take out cows, it can take out pandas too. Picture that, an innocent little panda walking around thinking this guy's his new friend, when BAM! He gets knocked on his ass by its strapping sting. This is one classic case of David versus Goliath.
Number 7.
You might have seen the thorn bug before without realizing it because its camouflage is so good. It perfectly resembles a thorn when it's sitting on a tree or plant. This creepy looking creature has got all kinds of crazy things going on. They find and pierce plant stems with their beaks, then feed on the sap. A chemical process within their body then turns excess sap into honeydew, which attracts ants that in turn act as its personal little army. In return for honeydew, the ants provide the thorn bug protection from predators. Kinda reminds me of the mafia. Stepping on the spine of one of these buggers is pretty gnarly, since a wound heals extremely slow and can get easily infected. They're also considered pests because of all the plants and cars they damage from secreting honeydew, so in general, they're not exactly very helpful to the environment, just like the mafia.
Number 6.
You've likely never heard of this bat species before because it was just discovered within the last decade. It's called the tube-nosed fruit bat. There were 2 scientific expeditions conducted in 2009 to the remote mountain ranges of Papua New Guinea, which were only accessible by plane, foot, or boat. During these trips, almost 200 new species were discovered, but this one was the coolest. Unlike the thornbug, the tube-nosed fruit bat is actually useful to the ecosystem, thanks to the fact that it mainly eats fruits, then disperses the seeds like a goddamn flying farmer. Keep in mind, this was only one of the 200 newfound species. Kinda makes you wonder what else is out there.
Number 5.
The Venezuelan poodle moth is another animal that was discovered in 2009. Can you guess where? If only it was bigger than your finger, it might be something you'd want to cuddle with. But maybe not. Here's why. The Venezuelan poodle moth is covered with a bunch of little hairs that irritate your skin, so just brushing up against this thing will leave you with a nasty little rash. Not much is known about them yet, but nevertheless, it was still too cool not to include in this list.
Number 4.
Here we have Glaucus atlanticus, otherwise known as a sea swallow or blue sea slug. These things are crazy! Measuring in at just over an inch long, they spend most of their lives floating upside down on the ocean surface by swallowing a bubble and holding it in their bellies to keep them afloat. They may look cute, but they're deadly as hell. Blue sea slugs are known to swallow the poisonous stinging cells of their prey, like the Portuguese man-of-war for example, then use this consumed poison to protect themselves from other predators. Don't even think about touching these things or you'll end up at the bottom of the ocean, like Leo D in Titanic.
Number 3.
If it looks like you don't want to mess with it, then you probably shouldn't mess with it. And trust me, you do not want to mess with the thorny dragon. As you can see, it's covered in spikes. And if that isn't intimidating enough, it can puff itself up to appear larger and more difficult to swallow. It can even change colors like a freaking chameleon. And you see that knob-looking thing on the back of its neck? That's a false freaking head. When it feels threatened, it lowers its real head in between its front legs and exposes its false head instead. This crafty creature's also got a built-in irrigation system on its body to help it survive the extreme Australian heat. Those grooves in between its thorns trap moisture from overnight rain and from the dew found on the grass and plants. Once the water is trapped in its grooves, it gets drawn directly into the thorny devil's mouth, meaning it literally sucks water from all over its body. So if it looks like a badass, acts like a badass, and lives like a badass, then the thorny devil is probably a badass.
Number 2.
This happy dude is an axolotl, or Mexican walking fish. They're salamanders that look like larvae their entire lives and always seem to be smiling, just like how I was for an entire week after graduating high school at the age of 28. Anyways, axolotl are found exclusively in one place in the world, the lakes and canals of Xochimilco, Mexico. Right now they're endangered, but before that they used to be served whole in cornmeal as tamales. Gross!
What's more is that you can make axolotl mature faster. A scientist once injected one with a shot of iodine and thus caused it to turn into a land dweller in a process called sudden maturation. Kinda like that time when I was kicked out of my parents' basement. That made me mature real fast.
The coolest thing about them is their ability to regenerate anything, just like Wolverine. You can cut their jaws, spines, and even brains off, and they'll still regenerate perfectly without any scarring. I gotta find out how this little guy does it, because one day I hope to regrow my ball sack. Never mind. And now for a number 1 creature you never knew existed. For more videos, subscribe here. Any of you skinny dudes out there ever been called a shrimp? This guy may be small too, but he can't be messed with. This colorful creature is called a mantis shrimp, and he'll rock your world. He's got 2 spears that he uses to kill his prey, and each spear moves at the same speed as a bullet shot from a .22 caliber rifle. It's so fast that it makes the water around them boil and reach temperatures so high, tiny bursts of light are produced. The boiling bubbles also create an undersea shockwave strong enough to kill their prey even if the spear misses. On top of that, they've also got clubs used to smash their hard-shelled prey, like crabs and oysters, to a pulp until their juicy insides squirt out and can be consumed. In fact, their limbs are so resilient that researchers are studying their cell structure for use in developing advanced combat body armor for soldiers. Aquariums don't like housing these guys since they'll slaughter every living thing they share the tank with and are even strong enough to break through aquarium glass. God forbid the mantis shrimp ever takes over the world, because then we'd be real screwed. Be sure to check out our most insane selfies by clicking here. For better.